Hey guys, I'm Brittany.
I'm Bethany.
And welcome back to our channel. Yes, and this is the first video of 2021, and our word for the year is meaningful, and so we'd really like to jump into this first video with something that's very close to our heart on the topic of feminine wellness, specifically fibroids.
Yes.
And I know we wanted to share our, more so you and
Yes.
your personal journey with fibroids.
Yeah, it's a big topic.
It is a big topic. It's a very, very important one. As African American women are 80% more likely to have fibroids. So it's a really important topic. You were diagnosed with a pretty serious fibroid.
Yes, I was.
A while ago.
2017, actually.
Okay. And if you just want to real quickly tell us what a fibroid is, because I know before that you and I had never heard of fibroids. And
yeah, a fibroid is basically a tumor or growth that's typically non-cancerous that lives and grows in the female reproductive system, specifically the uterus.
you found out you had a fibroid, and what even made you think to get checked out?
Prior to 2017, I had gone to urgent care. I want to say this was probably like a year or two before, because I had noticed a rather large bump at the lower part of my abdomen. It was probably the size of a fist that I kind of noticed sticking up out of my abdomen, which is very alarming. So I went to urgent care, and the doctor basically told me that I was backed up and I needed to use the bathroom more, I needed to be more regular, and I needed to change my diet.
So you were essentially misdiagnosed at that point.
Yes, much to my detriment. So 2017 rolled around, and me and my husband had started to talk more about having children. But so I was like, okay, I need to go ahead and get checked out. Meanwhile, I still had this bump that had not gone away with changing my diet and doing as the urgent care doctor said. It was still there, and it was lingering in the back of my mind as a concern, naturally.
Yeah.
So I went to go get checked out, and my PCP said, you have a fibroid.
Wow.
Yeah, and she said, typically they're not cancerous, but I want you to go get an MRI. We'll get some measurements, see how large it is. She said the catch-22 with you is that this fibroid seems so large, you will probably have to have it surgically removed, and that could leave scar tissue, which will make it challenging to get pregnant. On the flip side, if you leave it, there's no way you will get pregnant at all, which was devastating.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I'm sure, very, very heartbreaking to hear.
Yeah.
At that point, you began to see if surgery really was your only option as far as treatment goes.
I did. I went to go see who's my OB right now, and he's great, and he confirmed after, examining me, after reading my MRI, yes, you have a fibroid, yes, it needs to be surgically removed. Yes, you will have to have basically open surgery. It will be very much like a C-section. It was located on the back side of my uterus into the wall, and because of where it was located, the doctor said I most likely will have to have a C-section with every single pregnancy, or my uterus could rupture and I could die, bleed out on the table. And so, yeah, after finding that out, this was probably spring of 2017, I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't want this surgery, what can I do? So I researched, my family researched, they were great, they joined me, and we found that homeopathic routes had been shown to shrink some fibroids.
Yeah.
So I changed my diet. I found that ginger, turmeric, vitamin C, a lot of even milk thistle, dandelion, like a lot of herbs were tied to number one, fighting like mucus and all those things that cause cancer. And they're also really good at fighting tumors, and then also helping to balance hormones. And so that's what happens. That's what causes a fibroid, is that when your hormones are not balanced and produce estrogen, it feeds your fibroid. And so I was very, very motivated to balance my hormones, stop it from getting any bigger, because at the time I found out it was 11 centimeters, which is really, really large.
Yeah, that's a nice size there.
Yeah. Size of a baseball, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's what I was doing. So my sister was doing, like, we were all like, okay, let's juice, let's cut out dairy, let's cut out meat, like, let's do everything that we can together to help support Beth, and maybe it'll shrink.
Yeah, maybe we can shrink it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fibroid did not get smaller.
No. By August, when I had my surgery in 2017, it got bigger. It got all the way to 15 centimeters and then some. And the doctor basically told me it was the size of a 5-month pregnancy. And that he was able to remove it, thank God, without damaging my fallopian tube or my ovary, which it was sitting right on top. But he didn't have to remove it, either of those two things, so I was really grateful for that. And he was very optimistic of me being able to get pregnant very easily, with a little bit of time and continuing, and healing, but it still affected my fertility, which is something totally separate that we'll get into in another video.
Okay, so at that point, you did have to have the fibroid removed, and you were faced with, if you hadn't had it removed, in the event that you did, you would just have that much more scar tissue.
Exactly.
If you had continued to wait and hope that it was shrinking. We were seeing that it truly was not shrinking.
Right.
And you ran out of time.
I figured, well, I've got up until my surgery to see if this thing shrinks. And I think I had another ultrasound, some more tests, and it was not showing signs of getting smaller. So,
yeah, that was a big deal, that surgery. I remember her being quite the trooper. This was no small thing that she had to overcome to get back on her feet, and so
yeah, I couldn't have done it without my family and my sisters.
Well,
no way.
We wouldn't have it any other way. What are some symptoms that you felt?
Well, fibroids can affect your periods, and I had probably the roughest periods. I mean, I would feel so drained and faint, and they would be extremely heavy and lots of clotting. And I always thought that was just normal. Like, that's just a part of
Having a period.
I'd always talk to my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh, that mine isn't quite like that." And I would be like, "Well, why is mine so tough?" And it's like, I guess this is just the hand I've been dealt. And so, but no, it would come to a point where I'd be in the shower and I would feel like I'm gonna legitimately pass out here if I don't get out of the shower. So I would just crawl to my bed and try to catch my breath. I mean, my whole body would be shaking. I'd be sweating profusely, like I was panicking. But that's how sick I would get from this fibroid. And it just feeds off of your estrogen. I mean, it's truly like a parasite. And it caused so many problems for me. I mean, it made me constipated. Of course, it was sitting on, all my colon. It was just blocking everything, literally. So it made that hard.
At what point did you start feeling those symptoms? Was it after you were diagnosed with it?
Oh gosh, I can say for sure in my 20s.
And did the symptoms get worse after you were diagnosed as it began to get bigger?
It certainly did. It got progressively worse, and it made me just absolutely dread my period coming on.
Boy, it's been quite a journey.
It has, truly.
I know for me, after she had her surgery, because we are twins and we're identical, I thought it's probably a good idea for me to get checked out too. And I was diagnosed with a fibroid, and it was pretty small. It was about 4 centimeters. So the doctor said that if I wanted to have it removed right then and there, it could be laparoscopically removed, not invasive at all. But that I could also keep monitoring it and just getting ultrasounds, once a year or twice a year. And so that's what I've been doing. And in the meantime, I've really along with Beth, have been just researching other alternatives to having it removed. If I need to, that's what I'll do. But I also just wanted to see if maybe I could just eat healthier, if there were any alternative methods to shrinking it. And I don't know if I've experienced
Excuse me.
Tough periods as a result of the fibroid, because I don't honestly know when it started to grow, truly. Just another reason why it's so important to just catch it as early as you can. Therefore, you need to be aware of it and to, educate yourself.
Especially with us millennials wanting to build that amazing career and deciding, okay, we're gonna have kids later. It's really good to know what you have in front of you, especially fibroids, because if you're waiting till later and you have fibroids growing inside of you and you have no idea, and you want to have kids, it can make it that much harder to have kids later in life, plus the added challenge of dealing with fibroids that can directly impact your fertility.
Forgot to mention that the last time I had my ultrasound, fortunately, it looks like it's beginning to shrink, or at least stop growing. It looks like it's beginning to deteriorate.
Which is great.
Yeah, that is great news.
Thank
I was able to learn from your experience and just to get checked out immediately. And I just think like, well, what if we had known to check out get checked out even sooner?
I think about that all the time.
This is why we really wanted to share our story and just help at least one other woman become more aware and just encouraged to take, your feminine health serious. We are going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that was not easy. That was very difficult.
Yeah, it was tough. But I thank God that I'm in a place now that I can talk about it and hopefully help at least one person.
Yes.
And I couldn't have done it without my family. There's no way I could have gotten through that, the surgery, the whole thing. So I'm so grateful for you and Mom and Rach and obviously my husband. So
You would have done the same for me.
But in a heartbeat, my friend.
Don't I know it? Don't I know it? So anyway, ladies, go get checked out.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.
Bye.